while your heart ached with expectation, and your prayers seemed to reverberate in stillness. My darling baby, I was forming a reality that could leave you stunned. But to be loved like Stilly's was no longer an activity. The design was difficult. Through my fingertips, each instant of preparedness has been meticulously sewn into the fabric of your future. Yes, I did disregard your pleas. I gathered them up. For something sacred and timeless, everyone is looking to the mortar. Your requests were not forgotten. I grew them, nurturing them as I saw fit so they would blossom with divine logic. I counted time by what I used to be producing in your decision, but you might have measured it by what you lacked. I didn't need you to accept the surface, so I let seasons of silence pass. I've had to muster up some intensity. I was setting up people, places, and events, some of which you may never fully comprehend, all of which were essential to the emergence of something that could only be born in the invisible realm. I used to create responses that not only met your requests, but also redefined your identity. You have observed that I occasionally neglect to properly store the load while I'm recharging your energy. I sometimes change the direction so you can uncover aspects of yourself that you were previously unaware of. In order for your trust to cling onto the unseen, I sometimes withhold the apparent. All winds are no longer shown. Some arrive in whispers. Others arrive like a tidal wave. But the one I'm about to discharge was put together piece by piece to rise over your anxieties and underneath your doubts. I never moved it even 1 inch away from you, even when you were questioning if I had ever been there. You may have felt that my idea was long overdue, but I was just ahead of schedule, laying the groundwork for something that no human could see, and that no timetable on Earth would wish to anticipate. At best, the advancement you had hoped for was just a portion of what I had considered. I have absolutely no interest in giving you quick fixes. My focus shifted into a permanent metamorphosis. You desire the unblocking of a path. I was creating a whole new world with a specific goal in mind. You yearn for tranquility. I would set the groundwork for long-lasting enjoyment. I didn't share it sooner for this reason. If I had disclosed it to you earlier, your attention might have shifted from the link to the final outcomes. Your vision may have also stayed limited if I had responded the way you had envisioned. But I love you too much to let you settle for less than what you deserve. I no longer kept my greatest paintings hidden because I wanted to annoy you, but rather because I wanted to surprise you. Not because of what happened, but because of who added it to Skip. I wanted your soul to feel astonished. And now you'll see what I've been meticulously creating as the curtain begins to lift and the light begins to seep through the gaps. You won't feel like you fit in with worldly fashions. Although it may seem sudden, it has been evolving gradually for a while. And you'll see that the waiting wasn't in vain when you see what I've put into motion. It became sacrosanct. Believe me when I say that this isn't a chance occurrence. This achievement is neither a stroke of luck nor a success. The result is divinely scaled success. You could have thought that I was quiet, yet I was once chanting deliverance songs over you. Even though you may have felt forgotten, I inscribed your name on my fingertips. Every cry, every moment of bewilderment, every tired prayer, all of it led to this point. You are going to encounter something that you did not anticipate. Not because you weren't looking, but because it was invisible to the naked eye. The information was prepared in a place beyond human knowledge and kept for a moment like this. So, take a deep breath. You were not drowned by the storm. It readied you. You were not defeated by the stillness. I hurt you. Furthermore, the innovation will no longer just satisfy your desires. It will use your existence to proclaim my greatness. My darling, I definitely heard the words you whispered in the quiet moments. You came to me with inquiries, with a persistent desire for understanding. However, basic criteria were insufficient to describe what I was planning. I transformed my response to your request for guidance. I changed what you expected to be a forward stride into a bounce that defied all knowledge. Despite hearing all your pleas, a heavenly shift beyond description led me to respond in a language beyond human comprehension. I was starting a conversation that may not fit your internal framework of expectations at the same time as your mind was searching for styles and common sense. I didn't answer in the way you expected. My choice of answer could enhance your experience. There have been times when you believed that I was quiet, yet I was undoubtedly approaching in ways that your soul had never experienced before. Simply said, I didn't need your permission to start the shift I was on. And when it does, it will change not just your circumstances but your whole environment. You learn to anticipate effects in familiar packaging from the world. However, I traverse realms unaffected by repetition. You asked me to illuminate your path. Alternatively, I completely rewired the path. You were looking for an answer. I gave your lives a new identity right in the middle. Resolution was what you hoped for. I introduced a fourth twist. It wasn't to punish you that I put it off. I turned to throw you. Now, a startling change has occurred not to bewilder you, but to propel you from the everyday into the wholly unknown. I had no intention of reproducing previous styles, but you stood on the edge, thinking the next move would be similar to the last. The elevation I provide is not like previous developments. It appears subtly, yet it is the culmination of every invisible religious seed sown and every decision made in obedience, without any apparent benefit. This pivotal moment, which was formed out of surrender rather than struggle, has a supernatural basis. At this point, my involvement seems to be an interruption. However, baby, what can also feel like chaos is really the readjusting of everything around you to fit into a destiny that is too deep for human planning. I ended certain things so that you could start something that will last forever. I blocked certain pathways that didn't even seem to be on your map yet to open others. You were still able to modify. I receive it from you. I am now guiding with heavenly accuracy. You believed that the solutions would be revealed subtly, possibly as a door gently opening, through communication, or as an affirmation. However, I had taken a purposeful action that would change the fundamental contour of your expectations. What is about to happen won't appear. It will come hurtling in. It will introduce supernatural elements while moving through familiar settings. Walking won't feel as natural as being carried. Time itself will seem to be bending to suit your desires. This isn't your typical blessing. That is my unbridled kindness, exploding into your world. I realize that the outcome isn't always what you had in mind. I understand that. At first, it might seem confusing. However, when breakthroughs are divinely constructed, this is precisely how they occur. Success is achieved without caution. There is no single best posture or practice. You asked for serenity, and I sent a wave to transport you to realms of bliss beyond human comprehension. You requested a guarantee, and I provided you with unquestionably amazing evidence. You're not going to get carried away. They are releasing you, No one is shaking you. They are putting you aside. I see that you cannot yet accept it, but alignments are already developing without your request. I'm bringing forth doors that recognize you, fingers to assist you, and voices that speak for you. Your reliance on me when nothing made sense, rather than your pushing, is what is now impacting lives. This change not only transforms your story, but also impacts the lives connected to your obedience. It wasn't a pointless faith. There was a purpose to your patience. I wasn't idle in the past. I used to function at a level that was incomprehensible via physical symptoms and indicators. As this divine momentum builds, you can see that I have heard your prayers and responded in an unexpected way. I acknowledge that at times, my silence seemed like a barrier. You saw the silence as absence, even as your soul got tired of waiting amid shadows that seemed to move. However, I used to be closer than ever before, laying the groundwork for revelation based on stillness. I wasn't trying to ignore you. I was planning to go invisible once. I wasn't keeping answers from you. I used to be building the foundation for a victory that would have surprised even your expectations. In the silence, I was creating a level so magnificent that your heart could not contain the awe if you had seen even a little portion of it. I pulled back the arena's loudness so that you could be there to witness the miraculous blossoming of something beyond your wildest dreams. You have been placed here, you were not forgotten. My stillness ceases to be a power pause. Before the future erupted, it transformed into the hallowed silence. I let you stand in peaceful areas, not to shatter you, but to build inside you a fortitude that no hurricane should destroy. When the world seemed to be moving on without you, I used to be a factor in your desire. Opportunities, sources, and people are all carefully placed, and every step leads you closer to a setting that may convey my story via your lives. Even though you missed the practice, you may now walk right into the prize. There's a reason I didn't let things happen when you expected them to. Once you suffer a stillness that prepares your heart to hear my voice, the celebration that is about to arise from your experience may wish to happen most effectively. If you had received what you requested at this moment, you might believe that it originated from your own energy. However, my imprint is really on this triumph, this innovation. It will definitely be recognizable and memorable. I used to set the atmosphere for a moment when your obedience, even in confusion, might be validated, not for a little reveal. This performance isn't always just about getting where you're going. It's about demonstrating my commitment with a heart that remains devoted even in the absence of cheers, gentleness, and sound. I saw you stay steady. I noticed that you were crying without anyone to console you. And now I can publicly thank you for all of your silent perseverance. This wonderful triumph will come without warning or a hiccup because it doesn't require one. It has nothing to do with timing or risk. It's the expression of the divine process I've been using while you wonder whether anything was actually being transferred. I wasn't motionless. You were being anchored by me. I didn't wait. I was adding glory to every aspect of your predicament. I now reveal it, and the sector will witness the results of faithfulness in obscurity when it is touched by my hand. You won't simply rise above. People will recognize you. I can rule over you, though not by the standards of the world anymore, but by the brilliance of fashion that works best. You might be mentioned in places you previously believed were accessible. But now, not under pressure but in divine timing, what felt locked will open. What once seemed irreparable will flourish again, not due to human effort, but because of my breath, which will restore it to previous lifestyles. Let them speculate as to how it happened. Let them wonder why it happened now. You don't have to answer to everyone. Your testimony is this victory. Silence hides the solution, the harvest that emerged after countless nights of uncertainty, the beauty that grew in the shadows. You won't just see the promise now, sweetie. You'll walk in it. The degree isn't nude anymore. Once more, the curtain is drawing, and you won't be blinded by the highlight that shines now. It will show the religion that flourished when no one looked. The wish endured every delay. The love that doesn't help you get over it. Prepare to jump, but with holy boldness, not timidity. You won't win. If I had told him everything too soon, it would have been worth every moment of silence because he has a rhyme. What became apparent may have been the foundation of your self-belief. But I wanted something more solid for you, a trust that is steadfast and not dependent on appearances. This is a faith that remains silent even when everything around you appears to remain unchanged. I let the silence linger throughout your days for that reason. I wasn't putting off happiness. Even in silence, I was teaching your soul how to comprehend me. Few are willing to be reshaped even as status remains constant, but many develop as things change. However, that is actually where the most profound roots form. I taught your spirit to hear differently, to focus with the coronary heart instead of just the ears. Inside the silence, I took you to places where I was the only voice heard. I wanted you to look at what can be figured out when everything else is quiet, not because I wanted to keep you apart. It wouldn't be punishment, though. It became a hallowed space, a wall-less lecture hall wherein your faith was evaluated through surrender rather than actions. I saw you continue with quiet perseverance rather than with loud declarations. I noticed that you still have faith, but now you express it in private, whispered prayers rather than with big gestures. I now considered those moments significant. They've been fantastic. They have served as evidence that your faith has developed into a consistent walk of belief, transcending emotional outbursts. You were expanding in dimensions that are impossible to measure with calendars or timelines, so you were blind to the approaching turning point. I used to be honing your ability to endure, to persevere, and to trust my process without having to control the outcome, while the sector looked for signs and speed. They weren't leaving you out. They were cultivating you. I let the tempo slow down so you could hone your judgment. I let some things happen, so you might want to widen your eyes to see what I've been doing virtually. I wasn't merely shaping your fate in the silence. I was reworking your ID. You started to realize that my love doesn't back down, and my timing isn't hurried. Moments of movement could not be used to teach a lesson. It only makes sense when everyone around you stops talking and my voice becomes the most commonplace sound. You see, stagnation isn't always synonymous with stillness. Being still is a strategy. In order for your character to rise before your platform did, I hid you in plain sight. I turned off some sounds, so you should start noticing the subtle ways I lead you. You moved toward me in the area where nothing else moved, and that intimacy turned into your vitality, your shield, and your hiding spot. You stayed with me and decided what blows with eternal reason, while others ran ahead, chasing what glittered. I will now accept the next unveiling as true with you because you persevered in the silence. Because you must observe what is created during the waiting, delays no longer unsettle you. You value the pace of my hands over the pressure of expectations, so pauses no longer deter you. You are now prepared. Now, not because circumstances are ideal, but rather because of your spirit's perfection. Your faith no longer depends on action. In agreement, it breathes. You've developed into a warrant-to-walking individual. Now, you won't be worried about what lies ahead. Instead, you find comfort in knowing who is walking next to you. You won't be overwhelmed by the upcoming bankruptcy because you owe support. It will no longer feel like an interruption, but rather like a continuation. You have been arranged according to depth rather than movement. You are no longer looking for indications of my presence. You bring it. You're not merely requesting my will. You're in agreement with it. And the stillness did just that for you. It shaped you into a person who is moved by me, alone, and not by noise or mayhem. Watch what emerges from this soil now, my baby. What was thought to be dormant is about to blossom. It could be a cause for celebration. I did not see this transformation coming, but you did. And I can agree with you to carry what comes with the sound of breakthrough now that your faith has grown inside the silence. I know how long you have been waiting. In anticipation of exhaustion, I have witnessed the hours turn into days and the times into seasons. You came forward for a moment of solace. Instead, though, you witnessed halted development and paused moments. All that preparation, however, has not been wasted. The detour to you turned out to be a layer of safety wrapped in mystery with each delay and cause. We no longer intended the delays you experienced to discourage you. These delays were my way of protecting you from the dangers that were approaching. The advantages I have placed in your life have special significance and intent. To succeed, they must meet you at the right time and place. They might have felt unfinished or even burdensome if they had come too soon. But in order to fully prepare the level, I decided to pause time. I was finalizing information that would not meet your needs but would instead showcase my achievements while you were distracted by what had yet to come. Those presenters don't want any applause or a statement. They share their revelation. They don't need confirmation or a crowd. With divine timing, they arrive according to their timetable. That's because I sent them through doorways, so you couldn't expect them. I should employ divine intention to unlock doors that human plans have no longer marked. You might have gotten something incomplete if you had hurried. However, I am aware of what you undoubtedly require, something complete with no gaps. I therefore created silence to protect you from things that would have diverted your attention from fullness rather than letting you settle for fragments. I was helping you mature during the delays. I was keeping you within the pauses. In the quiet, I was readying myself to deliver the optimal solution, which the environment will reveal when it becomes completely suitable. I used to be working a lot past the clock, but you asked why things have been moving slowly. I was fitting situations, paths, and hearts collectively. The very things I used to soften the ground for could take root for your existence and produce fruit for generations. Not only will the future impact places you haven't yet visited, but it will also spill into the present. The timing had to be sacred because of this. The present season is a blessing that you have never had before. It won't recur like previous seasons. It has a completely unique weight of grace, a brand new sound, and a brand new scent. in order for you to realize that the present isn't always something you earned or planned. It was sent without warning. I could not have introduced anything better than only presence exists. There is no preparation, no optimal wonder, and no caution creep into your lives when you least expect it. But this time it will be a reaction to giving up rather than to effort. It wasn't sent according to your schedule, which is why you didn't anticipate it. It was chosen in accordance with my heart condition. You will also understand why it took so long, as it affects your lifestyles. I have kept this gift a secret until now because you wanted the place to reflect your identity and raise awareness about it. I have fallen behind schedule in order to expand my efforts instead of discouraging you. You have also been prepared, so it wasn't just the blessing. And now that you've been rooted through acceptance as true, shaped through endurance, and discreet through quiet perseverance, I am able to start what you have all been anticipating. In the outdoors, there won't be any assertion, but your spirit will sense it. It will make its way past the cacophony and land inside the place where your soul kept its hopes. You might recognize it, but others might not. You will be able to obtain this blessing without concern, uncertainty, or effort, since you are able to walk through the postponement. Since it was prepared specifically for you, my toddler, it will be cherished because it was always intended for you. What you imagine is rejected and is about to be brought. What people believed was forgotten is now waiting to find you. It will arrive in silence. When it does, though, it will be louder than any justification could ever hope to be. I saw your heart start to accept the silence as a result of the last response. Quiet and uncertain, you stood there wondering if anything could ever pass again. The times were unremarkable, the direction seemed unaltered, and the silence was nearly deafening. Maybe this is the end, you told yourself. Maybe things will remain this way forever. But you didn't realize that I was already working beneath the surface, creating a shift that was so significant that it would feel like preparation when it broke through everything that came before it. You see, I work in places that are off limits to your eyes. I sow seeds in secret soil where miracles are shaped, but no one applauds or observes. While you were constantly aware of what hadn't changed, I was quietly transforming everything. I was rewriting endings, reversing verdicts, rebuilding what discouragement had buried, and remodeling what seemed finished. A statement was not the first step in this turnaround. A whisper from heaven signaled the start of my world's motion. You did not miss the moment. You should put your faith first because I really did hide it. I used to send a state-of-the-art one, but you had been waiting for a real one. You had been anticipating movement in the seemingly empty spaces. However, I redirected the blessing to enter through doors that no one had considered testing. Its shift focuses on alteration rather than solely on visibility. The spotlight no longer serves as the focal point. What you believe should never be thrust upward again is the subject of this sacred restructuring. When you felt the most disconnected from progress, I initiated the turnaround. I selected the second option to convey that transformation does not usually arrive unexpectedly. It comes while you're still feeling exhausted. When hope seems at its lowest, I pass most deeply because you will realize that the exchange was based on grace rather than effort. To shift clearly mine, I let the pace appear slow. You'll know it wasn't a chance encounter. A divine interruption occurred. I'm not just changing your environment. I'm completely reversing the equation. You will now benefit from the styles that formerly worked against you. The weight that attempted to overburden you will instead carry you. The voices that used to ignore you will start to call your name honorably. What was once thought to be well beyond reach will now spread in ways you could not have predicted. The surroundings are bending your path. And it didn't start when you saw it. It started when you gave up. Originally, the turnaround was not intended for a birthday party. It was supposed to begin with humility. You stood silently while the group pursued distractions. You continued to walk while others demanded answers. Even though it was not visible to many, a choice set off a series of divine responses in the invisible world. I witnessed it. I respected it. And now an unstoppable motion has entered your life as a result of your quiet patience. When the doors you stopped knocking on open without any resistance, don't be shocked. When things start to line up something you didn't even plan for, don't panic. The current desire isn't solely dependent on your hustle. Your posture is the cause of it. After you bowed in surrender, I'm raising you up in triumph. I'm not just moving you ahead now. I'm speeding you up more than the delay tried to snatch. The fastest parts of your testimony will now be the very areas where you felt stuck. Your story will have the sound of recovery rather than readiness. When people ask you how it went, you can only respond, "It turned around once I least predicted it," which is precisely how I planned it. I wanted the credit score to be so obvious that nobody else would want to take it. There was no room for luck or timing. My hand is the only one actively working in a situation where I should receive no benefits. So, my child, get ready. Everything for the shift has already begun. What felt finished is now unfolding, but what was meant to be as quickly as possible is now live. Furthermore, your lower back can no longer withstand the force of my promise. You're not going back to your former self. You're entering a realm that has never existed before. And it all began when you didn't even realize anything was happening. I understand your deep yearning to witness something, and I would appreciate any confirmation that your desire wasn't futile. You searched for signs, for hints that things were getting better, for any hint of what I had promised. However, I decided to keep it hidden, not to mislead you but to invite you to a more positive acceptance of it as true, one that is now based on dating rather than proof. You didn't leave it out. Sincerely, I did include it. I layered silence over the blessing. I wanted to direct your gaze upward rather than outward, not because I was far away from you. Chasing symptoms is not the purpose of the journey I have taken you on. It's a sight that is expanding beyond what can be measured or charted. Predictable outcomes were not what I wanted you to rely on. I wanted your spirit to rely on me even in the absence of positive outcomes. You might have noticed the symptoms instead of my voice if I had told you everything. Instead of intimacy with me, you may have linked your perception to outcomes. Furthermore, I care about you too much to let your religious beliefs remain unexamined. To increase your acceptance that this is unchangeable, I concealed what had changed into growing, not to depress you. I agree that anchoring my presence is more important than my patterns. You continued to go for walks without confirmation, while others looked for guidance in what became apparent. The breakthrough can now fully reach you because of your obedience. You could not build what you are about to go through on a flimsy foundation. It required general dependence to form. I let the quiet purge your heart of everything it had quickly relied on for solace. You should appreciate the kind of tranquility that comes most naturally from my proximity because I can assist you in walking without being able to read. You live in a society that cautions you to seek proof sooner than you may anticipate. Before there was any proof, I asked you to believe it to be true. And you did so with silent faith, trembling palms, and tearful prayers. You put forward. You began searching for me for power and stopped asking me for symptoms and indicators. Everything changed with a shift, my baby. You promptly delve into a deeper level. You choose to explore the area where you believe you can progress without focusing on the finish line. I want you to understand that I haven't hidden anything from you. We have discussed it. I explained the benefits intended for you until you were ready to value them highly. Not all guarantees are now postponed due to opposition. Some of the benefits were delayed because of practice. I wasn't just preparing it for you. I was preparing you for it. Now, you can achieve it effortlessly because you chose to believe in it, despite not experiencing any symptoms. This event has nothing to do with rewards. It has to do with alignment. Now you're in line with what I've been planning all along. Your soul will soon uncover what I have concealed from your sight. Additionally, you won't need anyone's approval while it happens because you may be able to tell by the way your soul reacts. You may have a strong, unmistakable sense that I shaped this while you were trusting in the unknown. The best part, toddler, is that you'll incorporate this type of agreement into every season of destiny. When the silence returns, you might not be startled. You won't have any doubts when there are no signs. You'll remember that I am actually building something when I appear to be silent. I used to feel in control, even though nothing contributed to that feeling. Even though everything is obscured, you have been noticed. This is no longer a flimsy belief that we have built together. This is the kind of person who can navigate through obscurity without fear. It's the type that gives praise before there's a reason to enjoy yourself. And I can trust you with more than you ever thought possible now that you've developed this strength. Don't worry that you didn't anticipate it, my dear. That's what the point is. You didn't have to look at the signs for me. I wanted you to come with me. And most likely you did. As a result, you will receive what only religion should be able to provide you. I know what it's like when promising opportunities do not present themselves. No matter how diligently you tried or how sincerely you believed it, you were standing at seemingly promising thresholds. It was most effective to watch them stay locked. Your idea is that you might have gone unnoticed, forgotten, or even unqualified. But you were blind to the fact that I was once defending you, not denying you. This is not the entire situation that appears to align with fate. There are doors that cover consequences you weren't supposed to bear. When you knocked with the best wishes, I noticed that there was silence. However, behind every unresolved struggle, my approach to mercy shifted. Now, it's a blessing that you weren't admitted. Sometimes, what seems like a promising future can turn into an unexpected and overwhelming burden. I do not wish for your promise to become your burden. To maintain your peace, I have kept those entrances closed, not to punish you. Although timing is beyond personal preference, you have emotionally prepared yourself. A premature accomplishment can shatter the foundation I'm trying to build. I wished you had deeper roots sooner rather than waiting for things to get taller. A hastily constructed foundation cannot preserve what I've purposefully relaxed upon. The main reason I didn't show you the results was to prevent you from feeling reassured before others could see you. Many of the doors you prayed to open led to places that might have diverted your attention from your true purpose. Their capacity shone, but they had no motivation. Voices opposing your endeavor may have surrounded you. I took note of the surroundings. I could feel the effects. I took a burden measurement, and I kept them sealed because I love you. What appeared to be rejection turned into actual redirection. In your development, I wasn't saying no correctly. I was pointing you in the direction of greater effects. They could have restricted your growth instead of allowing it to expand, so I permitted you to pass up certain opportunities. I was aware that the very element you celebrated might later cause confusion or pain if I opened it beforehand. You are now being trained for something that fits you perfectly, something that will bring you closer to me rather than farther away because you were unable to force your way in. You see, toddler, true success isn't really a benefit. It has to do with grace. It's about making contact while still firmly rooted in your identity. By no means am I supposed to pursue opportunities. I created you to draw attention to a cause. And the best time for that kind of arrival is when you're ready to hold it with humility, discernment, and vigor. While those doorways remain closed, that is what I have been building in you. Even though it didn't make sense, you relied on me, and now something lovely is happening. I am preparing to gain access that cannot be denied by anyone. This later establishment will no longer be required. It will track you down. Confusion and uncertainty might not be part of it. There will be peace with it. You won't have to compromise who you are to enter the right door. Instead, it will sense the intensity of your expression and open wide in respect to what you possess, allowing me to develop quietly. I'm sending the fulfillment on time. It's precisely the right moment. It will coincide with the season's ripeness and your spirit's readiness, and you'll notice the difference as soon as you step into it. No racing, no striving, no need to demonstrate anything. What has already been planned for you will truly float in, and those who were skeptical will see that your delay became a permanent denial. It was orchestrated by God. Therefore, my baby, take a deep breath. Let go of the doors that remain closed. You succeeded. You weren't left behind. Not just your prayers, but also your purpose, have been preserved for something that would be healthy now. You will now enter rooms that honor your journey and commemorate your presence as you continue to walk with me. It was because I decided it was time to open the manor, not because you pushed to get in. While you wondered why things were slipping away, I took note of every moment. You suspect that plans fell apart and clear paths became unclear as people drifted apart. As you consider what went wrong and what you most likely did to merit this kind of shaking, your heart ached. But I want you to understand that nothing became anything that was taken away from you as a punishment. I wasn't taking money away. I was preparing the path. Every breakup, every departure, and every sudden change wasn't intended to be a burden. It evolved into preparing with you. The subtraction became divine realignment, but you interpreted it as rejection. I was unable to help you deal with the issue that is causing your project to be delayed. I should take you to places made especially for your destiny because I had loosened what no longer matched your calling. I didn't deprive you of anything to expose your nudity. I took away what was no longer meant to follow you into the future. Loss is a way of making things difficult to see. It encourages you to concentrate on what is incorrect rather than what is already there. However, I wasn't going to hurt you by leaving chapters. I was placing you in the vicinity for the upcoming event. To ensure you stood exactly where my plan required, I effectively shifted the floor beneath your feet, creating the illusion of doorways making their final appearance. I remained with you during those times. My route to your assignment used to be more direct. I acknowledge that my approach may not have felt supportive to you. It was heartbreaking. Confusion was a feeling. However, it became cloaked in silent motion. I was gently turning your function, directing your movements away from any obstacles that might have impeded your advancement. You weren't being abandoned in any way. I had been moving you into clarity. It wasn't because I had become dependent on you that you were in pain. It was because I was guiding you towards something greater. Some relationships simply weren't compatible with you. There have been situations where your development was not possible. You created some dreams that didn't fully reflect my vision for you. I had to let them go because I was so in love. I let the winds blow, not to destroy your private residence, but to make room for the precise construction of the muse I laid out. I referred to it as the loss of alignment, just as you did. Now you find yourself in a region where matter feels lighter. This is not because you have less, but rather because you are carrying the bare minimum of what I intended to preserve. Risk did not lead to that freedom. It was the result of perseverance. Even as you failed to capture them, you allowed them to cross. Even though it seemed like everything was crumbling, you still had faith in me. And now I am placing you in a position of divine gain because of that faith. There will be no need to explain this placement. It will probably be noticeable. You will feel as though you are meeting the future. What your coronary heart has been shaped to contain will be replicated by the opportunities that arise. You should refrain from applying excessive pressure to any situation. Your support of me will appeal to your cause's assets. And when things start to settle in the area, you'll come back and realize why certain things couldn't stay. They weren't terrible. It is obvious that they were not built for the season you are currently experiencing. What you lost won't look like what lies ahead. That's what makes it so beautiful. I am not repeating the past. I am releasing something that has never been seen before. I'm not bringing back comfort with this alignment. It serves as a window into what lies ahead. Every piece is falling exactly where it was supposed to, although it felt like scattering. Now, the pain you endured wasn't in vain. It has now made you the focus of my will, where your actions will be favored and your choices will be peaceful. Don't lament what I move it. Then, where I have placed you, rejoice. You're not in the wrong place. You're not left out. You are right, where I have planned for you to be aligned, ready for whatever comes next. And since you aren't just waiting anymore, everything around you might be echoing my objective this time. You are walking in the right place. Every time you wondered why the journey did not follow the path you had envisioned, I witnessed it. You devised the most effective schedules, plans, and expectations, allowing for frequent redirections. Everything seemed to be taking longer than it ought to. However, I was protecting you from what you were unable to see. The path you initially favored was not in any way disregarded. It was undoubtedly deflected because it was preceded by battles that could have worn you out, taken your mind, and tried to shake your foundation. I followed your request to move you forward, but I did not use the map you created. because I should be able to see beyond what your eyes could detect. I led you through turns you didn't ask for. Some assignments had traps beneath the surface, despite their attractive appearance. There have been people you wished to walk with who were carrying invisible burdens that might have impeded your advancement. I didn't take you away from them just to irritate you. To keep you calm, I move you. Some deer entered through closed doorways. Others arrived in the form of abrupt changes, pauses, or routes that seemed to take you farther away from your dreams. At one point, the situation became unpredictable, yet nothing was wasted. To keep your heart whole, and your imagination and foresight pure, every delay and every trade along the way was transformed into a divine strategy. The traps were visible to me. Before the attacks could reach you, I was able to determine their length. And I led you in a remarkable way in love. Now it's the safer way, not the shorter one. When the hassle is evident, it is easy to see protection. However, my concern is best expressed by the things that have never even affected you. You were unaware of the battles I canceled before they could escalate. You were unaware of the words I silenced before they could speak against you. The reason I changed your course was not because you were vulnerable, but rather because your task is too crucial to be disrupted by conflicts I never intended to engage in. If I had allowed you to pursue your desired path, you might have entered environments designed to confuse your true calling immediately. You may have settled in areas that seemed full of opportunity but were actually purposeless. So I changed your course. I led you through unfamiliar territory, not to confuse you, but to increase your reliance on me. I provided you with clarity during the detour, which you may not have noticed while following your intended course. I know you didn't understand it at the time. While others appeared to boost you, you felt left behind. But what they were swiftly gaining, you are now getting in full, without compromise, without misunderstanding, and without the burden of unnecessary conflict. I protected you from collisions you were unaware of. I slowed you down so I could accelerate almost every subject. To allow you to rise without hindrance, I kept you away from locations that might have sapped your soul. Now take a look around. Have you noticed the calmness in your soul? Now that isn't just a coincidence. The benefit of choosing my tempo instead of experiencing strain is that it leads to greater peace. That's what happens when you accept the unknown as true about me. You're no longer behind schedule. I made this course specifically for your safety. You're on target now. Because they are chasing locations instead of following my presence, most people are unaware that you are in a corridor of grace. The detour you took is becoming a divine arrival. It's time to reveal acceleration after feeling like a put-off. I take it away because you were spared the war. You now possess the strength, energy, and readability to fully embrace what lies ahead. When you look back, you see that it wasn't at all about how quickly you move it. Generally speaking, it depends on how faithfully you accompanied. While the direction was illogical, you depended on me. You will now experience the benefits of supernatural protection. Hold off on moving forward, my darling. You gained from direction. You didn't waste time. You were redirected after going and being rejected. And everything you missed by going the extra mile became something that was never meant to be yours in the first place. Now, what I have prepared for you is pure, unadulterated, and wholly yours. All because you were with me while the others trailed behind the group. I finally got to see what you've been hoping for. I've heard you keep the goals you saved in the back of your mind. These are the goals for which you struggled to find the right words. You imagined what a potential advancement could involve, and you also considered it from the viewpoint of what you believed was possible. But thanks to human barriers, I am no longer constrained. Furthermore, my love doesn't function according to your standards. I didn't just try to live up to your expectations. I intended to exceed your expectations slightly. You base your search for answers solely on your knowledge. But using your modern knowledge, I had already prepared something more, something untested. I don't repeat previous benefits or provide consistent formulas. I want you to see that what I deliver is not just adequate. It is saturated with surprise, which is why I create consequences that go beyond creativity. I amaze. I don't just offer. I don't really answer. I'm overflowing. It is, in fact, the reason this moment has come in a way that has taken you by surprise. You think things through carefully. You praying for what you wanted. I poured out extravagantly, though. You anticipated the start of an opportunity. I presented a brand new panorama. You expected a murmur. I unleashed an overwhelming surge. In order for my circulation to be distinct, not gradual or predictable, but remarkable in every way, I let you walk through seasons that appeared to be quiet. The things I have in store do not duplicate what you have already mastered. They bring sudden timing, unexpected grace, and new perfume. I'm not a repeating God. I'm the one who makes love-based surprises. To present something somewhat more beautiful than what you were asking for, I waited until your heart was finally clinging to unique results. You believed that your dreams were lofty, but my plans had already surpassed that desire. In one place, you prayed for restoration. I helped many people become better. You asked for the replacement of one closed chapter. I started a completely original story. In my mind, I've already finished what seemed impossible to you. I was actually waiting for the ideal opportunity to make it public. I like to show you who I am in this way. I'm not as talented as you are. I pull you into my embrace. I enjoy watching your eyes enlarge with astonishment. I linger on your coronary heart to make you realize how infinite my affection is, not because I want your awe. I take pride in giving you what you wanted and what you didn't know you could have. Because it's no longer the outcome of the approach, this is the reason you didn't see it coming. It is the outcome of a partnership. You remain near me, and now you are enjoying a harvest that I could never hope to achieve on my own. I held off on launching this project until your need for control subsided and your trust deepened. I wanted your religion to flourish first so that it wouldn't be a distraction when my pass arrived. It would serve as a prompt. I've signed off on every detail I've planned. You'll see my voice in the result, my hand in the timing, and my heart in the provision. This blessing will do more than just change your situation. It will change your perspective on what is possible. Indeed, I enjoy doing it this way. Not to surprise you, but to please you. I truly enjoy showing up when you least expect it. I enjoy breaking up your routine with miracles. I delight in astonishing you with joyful answers and tranquil timing. I'm not bragging anymore. I'm demonstrating to you the limitless nature of my devotion. Now, open your hands with full expectation rather than cautiously. This blessing is not something you should be concerned about. It was not forced. It wasn't made up. It was ingrained in you long before you asked for it, and now I see it in your life as a revelation rather than a reward. I like you this way. You have become more than adequate. Always extra. My dear, that is only the beginning. You entered a world that I truly enjoy exploring with you. Your spirit now understands the power of goodness, so you will never lower your standards again. The entire thing that appeared to be stable is now shifting under the weight of my authority. You can look at me and say, I did not see this transformation coming, but I knew you would. The seemingly settled tides are turning around. The dynamics that prepared you are disintegrating. I'm no longer making small changes. I'm moving quickly and precisely. You have been feeling a shift in your spirit, and it is real. It's here, and it's real. You are rearranging the unfairly skewed tables on your behalf. You were trapped in patterns that seemed unbreakable for too long. Circumstances, deadlines, and outcomes controlled by others had surrounded you. But now, with divine acceleration, I'm stepping in what seems like another second. There may be no noise to announce the shift. It's going to actually happen. Like breath coming back after a long silence. You will now find what you used to have to chase. It's just a motion season. It's the opposite. You are silencing the very forces that are against you. What previously stood in your way will now give way. I've reversed decisions made in places you couldn't reach, and I've spoken over circumstances that tried to stifle you. Even though you can't see the full image anymore, the outline of what brought you back is disintegrating. I'm correcting the imbalance that undermined your faith and putting you in a position where you won't have to borrow your peace. Most likely, it will be secure. Niue is subanda. Although it may arrive suddenly, this moment has been meticulously planned. Currently, I've been transferring in secret while I wait for the ideal moment to launch. I'm changing the script now because the circumstances are right, your heart is steady, and your ears are listening to what I have to say. You might not be alone in adapting to other people's schedules. I'm putting you in the center of the cause I made for you, where you belong. I used to gather momentum beneath the floor, similar to a seed pushing towards the soil before breaking through the ground, but you believed your progress was slow. Your journey evolved into creating energy in the invisible realm. And now, everything will tilt in your favor in what will seem like a blink. People who used to ignore you will now look at you. Those who ignore you might believe what you say. You might not recognize their response, though. My revelation is probably where it will be. Public perception isn't always the main driver of this turnaround. The source of this turnaround is spiritual reordering. Where there was loss, I'm bringing stability back. I am ignoring costs in situations where there was pressure. You won't be required to explain how it happened. The consequences will be evident. Consistent efforts, however, will start to come naturally once they are needed. But not because the burden has long since been lifted, but rather because I have given you the strength to overcome it. Indeed, it will be unexpected. Impeachment won't be possible in time. It might not be necessary for you to create a plan or a strategy. You'll actually take over what I've already finished. You're not supposed to be startled by the suddenness. This serves as a reminder that, despite everything, I'm the god of immediacy. Now, I will transform your ecosystem with a single decision, just as I can silence storms with a single word. If things begin to transfer without any explanation, don't panic. When what has become familiar begins to deteriorate and disappear, do not resist. I'm no longer eliminating comfort. Clarity is what I'm introducing. Jobs are evolving. The environment is reactive. The future you imagined, which seemed so far away, is now within reach. And since it's no longer about delaying, it's happening more quickly than you anticipated. It's about success. My baby, keep your coronary heart regular. It's not always an exchange. Here it is. And because of this factor, you might walk inside the electricity of divine reversal rather than as someone who waits. You have reached a point where everything must now align with my timing instead of being influenced by your surroundings. That is your second chance to obtain what has been reserved rather than to prove anything. Now that the roles have been reversed, your choice is being delivered. You've experienced times when it seemed like no one noticed the weight you were carrying. You worked without praise, sowed in silence, and gave with a religious heart while simultaneously questioning whether it was all evident. Rest assured, I have never hidden anything from you. Every loving gesture, every moment of perseverance, and every silent sacrifice became a divine ripple. And now the things you let go of in secret are reaching heights you never could have dreamed. Right now, people are discussing your call as a solution, not as an offer. People who have never met you are talking about you, and doors that you haven't knocked on are starting to open. The result is alignment rather than coincidence. I've been preparing hearts to comprehend what I've placed inside of you. They can now focus on your journey because I have been weaving your story into influential circles. To achieve the right position, you should avoid selling yourself short. I've already positioned your call in situations where it's more likely to receive honor than just a listen. Now, the work you've done in silence will be recognized not out of pride, but out of logic. What you once carried with elegance is now drawing attention not because of your reputation, but rather because of its substance. To appreciate your presence rather than take advantage of it, I have preserved you for rooms. Temp praises their divine endorsements in these mentions. I've inspired people to think about you, recommend you, and achieve for you at the ideal moment. Fighting for visibility is not something you want to do. I've poured enough fragrant oil over your life to announce you without much fanfare. You weren't overlooked. You were purposefully concealed until the right setting developed what I have quietly observed in you. Recognize this. Your guidance has produced an unmistakable scent. In the face of uncertainty, you have remained obedient, committed to your task, and consistent in your integrity. You can't ignore that kind of heart all the time. I've noticed that people now widely recognize your contributions, not due to your reputation, but due to your strength. Various factors may motivate you to establish connections at the core of your calling. Your call is currently resting on the edge of the desk of the future in rooms you have never been in. Decisions in the days ahead will directly impact you. And I've placed your name on the lips of people who have keys that you were unaware existed. These moments might not be worth chasing. They might discover you. And when they do, you'll realize it wasn't a risk or a manipulation. Before you spoke on your own behalf, I was planning to leave. You've always thought I was doing surgery. You'll now start to see the evidence in indisputable ways. There will be invitations. Opportunities will arise. But now what seemed unattainable will show up at your door not as a payment, but as a testament. Humans are not doing these favors. They are the results of the promises I made to you in a whisper a long time ago. The ones that, despite the lack of progress, you dare to contemplate. Therefore, stop being shocked when honor finds you. When rooms suddenly open, don't be afraid. I have readied you for this. Give impact rather than to impress. Your voice focuses. Your presence is significant. Your spirit has stayed rooted in me, which is the reason your name is rising right now. Pleasure cannot follow you into those new places because of what I've done most efficient use. It's the time of year when you start to achieve without anticipating anything. You will witness the results of fashion's silent growth. Your call will be answered in a way you never thought possible. And you might discover that its absence was not due to your influence. That was my goal. Now raise your head. This is not a random event. It's acknowledgement of what I've ingrained in you. After that, the arena is prepared to receive it. I've witnessed the long evenings when you asked me to be polite. With quiet vigor, you have carried a wish in your heart, wondering how the things I promised might spread. You didn't try to exert pressure or seek connections. In fact, you waited to concur. And now I am sending help in response to your faithfulness. No longer just everyone, though, but specific individuals I have been preparing behind the scenes, people with the power, influence, and wisdom to unlock what has been closed. Your prayers have never gone unanswered, you see. Heaven has stirred with each word, carrying them to me like incense. Even though you are no longer able to witness the terrible events that have occurred, I used to assign people to carry out solutions on your behalf. They are more than just partners. They might be the source of innovations. They're coming now to pour into what you've been building with faith, not to take from you. They don't know your struggles, but my spirit has inspired them to see the value of your work. Your movements had matched the time of year. They will provide divine wisdom, strategies, resources, and readability. I have concealed these people from plain view, just as I have concealed you, waiting for the right opportunity to meet. They don't come with meaningless assurances. I have keys. You have completed everything that was required of you. Even when it seemed like nothing could change, they continued to pray, sow, and stand their ground. If you wish to grasp the fingers I've prepared to hold what you couldn't reach by yourself, now is the moment. I'm giving you more than just moments. I am using people to bless you. These individuals have received a portion of your miracle. You may be reluctant to persuade them of your legitimacy. Popularity will already come from their hearts. I have communicated your call to their spirit. I've discovered a sense of urgency within them to lead, encourage, and quicken what has been dormant. These people will not only see your vision, but also help organize it. Unlike others, their words will confirm what I've already whispered to you in private. They will bring alignment, not confusion, with them. This event has nothing to do with networking. This is about the orchestration of God. You didn't have to force your manners on them. Because of your obedience, I've steered them in your direction. You secretly worshipped me. I'm sending you people now who will respect what you carry. They might not be coming to trade your idea anymore. They might be there to help it succeed. When the timing seems abrupt, stop being amazed. This procedure is the mechanism of divine release. It will seem like everything is happening at once. In reality, this moment hath been subtly developing for years. It's not always a coincidence what you might encounter today. The development of both your perspectives and theirs is not the result of covert coaching. Both of you were prepared to embrace this moment. Be receptive to the new people I introduce. Some may not look like what you expected, but they are sent out, not chosen. Despite being appointed, they have not been implemented. Please allow the idea to flow and kindly manage this on your own. I created you for sacred partnership, not for dependence on others, but for romantic relationships. It takes more than just your effort to build what I'm doing through you. It calls for cooperation that heaven has decreed. So, child, lift your eyes. There will be reinforcements shortly. They also bring with them understanding, access, provision, and a method you didn't even realize you desired. You shouldn't search for them. They are on their way. And when they come, you will be able to identify them by the calm and direction they infuse into your life, not by their title. That's what happens when I pray for a solution, not just one with assurances, though, but one with people. In the secret hours, I caught sight of you. You were unable to articulate why your heart shook under the weight of your tears, and your words were empty. The sector may not have recognized it, but I was there, nearer than the breath to your lungs, gathering each tear as if it were a sacrifice. What you thought would break you turned into something that would actually give birth to something lasting. I didn't look away. I didn't wait. I was painting while you were grieving, creating a story that would make up for every wasted moment. In my hands, grief will serve as the fertile ground for the growth of glory, even though it may seem like a final touch. You didn't cry for no reason. Every cry and every quiet agony served as the ink I used to write a story so beautiful that only heaven could have written it. Nothing changed, you thought. I was writing in real time, though. I used to weave recovery into the fabric of your events, even on your weakest points. Redemption begins before your recuperation is complete. It develops within your suffering. I caught you whispering the reason. Remember, there are more examples than you might imagine. I could hear the weariness in your prayers and the inquiries that never left your mouth. I wasn't prepared to be sturdy, though. At one time, I found refuge in your surrender. You were not disqualified because of your brokenness. This became the reason my mercy arrived in waves. While you were sitting in the ruins, I was constructing a future that might not look like your grief anymore but would instead rise out of it. You thought everything was collapsing. However, we were in a reality setting together once, which was a bit more than you requested. Redemption changes the past, not erases it. I did not overlook what happened to you in any way. I witnessed it all, and instead of responding with anger, I had a plan to draw the conclusion far better than the beginning. I wasn't merely observing your suffering. I used to respond to it in terms of healing and reason. On the days when you were unable to speak, I spoke the prayers your spirit was unable to. Inside the ashes, you were no longer alone. My angels were on guard. My hand held you upright. Even though you might no longer be able to walk, I lifted you over terrain that meant to destroy you. Every crack and scar now serves as evidence of survival. The same marks are now written into symbols of victory on their beam. You discover that your story isn't always about how much you persisted. It concerns what I did while you continued to do it. I was keeping you out of resentment. I defended your tenderness. Like a flame inside the typhoon, I used to protect your hope. And you'll start to see what I was building during your most vulnerable hours now that the winds have subsided. I've been working on a significant affidavit not because it is flawless, but rather because it is resilient and built with grace. This later bankruptcy will prevent you from crying. That means it'll deliver. What was once too painful to go back to becomes a source of inspiration for others. I am providing a voice to your grief and a stage for your healing. I want to demonstrate my strength, not your weakness. What used to make you feel invisible will now become the area where people come into contact with me throughout your life. You don't have to pretend that those days never happened. I redeem the valley, not erase it. I portray lifestyles from desolate locations. A long time ago, I breathed right into a movie again. And what I wrote while you were crying will soon come to life in the form of peace, favor, and an unwavering understanding that I used to always have near me. Wipe away your tears, little one, for the pain was insignificant, yet it was recognized. You are walking into the beginning of a story that heaven wrote with promise, compassion, and purpose. And you'll realize that every tear has a purpose as you see how everything comes together, and every moment is taken into consideration in the masterpiece that I was writing at the time. I comprehend the profound sorrow you experienced when everything collapsed abruptly. The moment your coronary heart cracked under unbearable pressure, I saw it. Suddenly, the desires you had been holding so tightly slipped from your grasp. The path you believe in suddenly collapsed beneath you. And during that breakup, you asked yourself whether it marked the end of your story or not. However, I must have your undivided attention right now. The cease wasn't the cause. It developed into the beginning of something much greater. Your motive was not fulfilled by the events that disrupted your peace. The pain that seemed to last forever wasn't sent to spoil you. I was given permission to look deeper inside of you. In situations where human energy fails, there are things that my glory can simply scream. I made room in the break for splendor that changes, not just shines. Your greatest disintegration served as the soil in which my thoughts grew in a different way. You see, kid, things open when they break. And what had opened inside of you is no longer emptiness. It evolved into gaining access. You may have felt your heart was too hurt to bear the expense again. But I was preparing the interior of the room for something permanent for you. Your soul's fissures have turned into openings for my presence. I didn't ask you to be perfect. I just asked if I could enter. You did, too. This was true even when your entire body was shaking. Breaking is not the same as abandonment. I didn't walk very far from you. I delved deeply into your pain and sat beside you. I didn't hasten your recovery. I respected your sorrow. And I used to be carefully molding something sacred out of the pieces while you were trying to keep yourself together. What you believed was lost forever is now returning, but in a completely different form that bears my fingerprint. As soon as I started rebuilding you from the inside out, rather than the outside, that second was when you said, I cannot take anymore. I didn't ask you to be strong. Your energy was changing into me. I didn't insist on answers. You are now as fearful of the ruins as I was when I offered consolation. My glory is expanding inside of you rather than just surrounding you. I'm writing a story about more than just recovery through your lives. It has to do with resurrection, because of the equal version of yourself. You are not returning. You're growing into a more profound, resilient, compassionate, and astute person. Your destiny was not destroyed by the breaking. It was cleansed. The false personas you were wearing vanished in the process. What remains is a heart capable of delivering my presence without acting. Because of your breaking, you are no longer ineligible. Using what you gave me permission to do with it, you are certified because you failed to harden. You didn't lose your temper. You give yourself permission to be honest. You give yourself permission to sense. By doing this, you created an opportunity for my strength to manifest in its most basic form through vulnerability, surrender, and a commitment that endures even after everything else has been taken away. And now you will bear more than a testimony when you stand again. You will radiate a light that may only come from surviving what was meant to kill you. People will come along and see energy, but you will realize it's mine, shining through the areas where you let me rebuild you. This is unique because of that. Its glory is found, not just healing anymore. So don't worry, my kid. You are no longer doomed by that breaking. It became the unveiling of you. I let what you believed to be your demise become the beginning of something completely different. You're not doomed. You've risen. And everything that tried to destroy you is now submitting to the beauty I have created around it. My glory lies in that within you. Now, it's not just something you talk about roughly. It's something you live, breathe, and carry forward with unwavering purpose and quiet energy. You have been carrying a burden that I never wanted you to explain. Before you could find the words, I sensed it was long. There were times when your mouth was shut, but your soul was wailing in a language that suggested I should listen. You carried burdens very carefully so as not to bother any of us and to avoid coming across as weak. You made an effort to be strong when you were in dire need of rest. But I didn't lose anything. I received it as a holy gift, every silent pain, every unseen tear, every thought hidden beneath the floor. You should have yelled to be heard. More powerful than any spoken prayer was your quiet perseverance. I could see the fatigue that settled at the back of your eyes, despite the fact that you continued to walk, show up, and push forward. Although you exuded energy, I could sense the internal conflict. You managed a lot on your own, believing that perhaps it would rise that way. But I never used to be far away, baby. I used to gather up your suffering, but now I do so with divine compassion rather than apathy. It's possible that every discomfort you've carried has been documented in heaven. Maybe I haven't noticed any wounds. While others might have written off your silence as a sign of strength, I saw it as the cry of someone who hoped I was still paying attention. And I was. Now, not a single moment of hardship has been overlooked. Not a single gasping night has been in vain now. Before you noticed any changes around you, I absorbed everything and started transferring in response. I didn't need an audience to interrupt you. Authenticity, not performance, is what I react to. And what you've shown me through your perseverance, your silent sobs, and your quietness has undoubtedly made its way to my throne like a scent that works better than words. Your silence hasn't stopped me from being moved. To be honest, it has motivated me to take action in ways you have yet to comprehend. I translated what you couldn't say. I saw what you didn't show. And I've already begun to respond. Now, not just to ease your suffering, but to mend what has been damaged underneath it. I'm not just offering consolation anymore. I'm releasing a shift that affects everything associated with your grief. The invisible parts of you that were overworked through invisible battles are being repaired by me. I'm giving you back your sense of security, your capacity for pleasure, and your ability to dream. You remained yourself despite the pain. You found me there. I'm lifting you into a season where your voice will carry the weight of your survival because you're unwilling to let the silence go. Faking is no longer necessary. You shouldn't keep it up completely. I'm not here to grow it, I'm here to raise it. Peace that won't require work to maintain is now being created for the electricity you use to survive the typhoon. To get noticed, you might not need to fight. I've seen you before. To be healed, you won't need to beg. No one else could touch what I've already begun to mend. Furthermore, this reaction is more than just short-term solace. It is the beginning of a more profound rejuvenation. I'm not patching the surface anymore. The foundation is being transformed by me. You might feel lighter. Not because the industry has changed, but because you aren't doing it alone anymore. What was weighing you down has been taken by me, and I'm pouring a stillness that is beyond all knowledge around it. Not every time is this merely a response to prayer. It's a reaction to discomfort. Breathe then, my baby. The silence did not imply that I was far away. It implied that I was protecting you in ways that words could not express. The moment has arrived for you to look up. I have observed it, heard, and responded. And what comes into your life later on may be so gentle, so private, and so profound that you will forget how long you waited. Because my love does not disregard the silent cries in any way. Additionally, sadness may have pervaded your life for a while, giving you the impression that it has taken up residence in your soul. It reverberated through memories you couldn't relive without pain, lingering in the places that had once been alive with laughter. Even if no one around you expressed the weight of your emotions, you learned to carry yourself through those days. But what sorrow failed to notice is that the final phrase is missing. Yes, I do. Additionally, I've already sent a request for help in locating the exact location where grief tried to construct its home. You see how sadness attempted to persuade you that your good times were behind you and that the light would never come back. In your darkest moments, it whispered falsehoods, telling you that you could typically feel this exhausted, this uncertain, and this alone. But it miscalculated how resilient I made you. It failed to realize that I was already writing the next chapter, one that begins with celebration rather than combat, while it was discussing fear. I'm not just giving you pleasure anymore. To find you, I'm sending it. This implies that pleasure is already on the horizon, even in the places where you feel too empty to search. It is aware of your call. It knows where it should go. It also has no restrictions. It's not something you have to earn. You are not required to explain why you are deserving of it. You must definitely get it while it's still available. This is not a fleeting or superficial pleasure. It has a deeper and more enduring foundation. It now arrives to update the grief that once characterized you rather than to divert your attention from your pain. In the beginning, this pleasure won't be as loud. It will silently peer through the sudden calm that descends upon you one morning, when the smile unapologetically returns to your lips. You might notice that you're laughing again, not because everything is flawless, but rather because you're starting to feel better on the inside. That's how I get pleasure. It transforms what has changed into something that is considered but inaccessible. What was reduced to rubble is rebuilt. It brings color back to the parts of your life that had turned gray. And this happiness I'm sending isn't a result of external circumstances. It wouldn't depend on everything going according to plan. It is not anticipating that your story will make sense. It comes naturally to me. It is rooted in my presence, propelled by my goodness, and maintained with the help of my assurances. No question, no error, no loss. It will grow in your barren intestines. Over your silence, it will sing. It will surpass all the voices that said your happiness was over. I know how long grief has lingered. How many nights it kept you company, I know. However, prayer has greater power. It has both the power of heaven and my hand's healing touch. It doesn't refute what you were told. It really does state that you will no longer be staying there. Your story will no longer be erased by pleasure. It will make it right. It will serve as a reminder that your soul was never meant to remain in the dark. It will encourage you to dream again, but boldly and not cautiously. You'll soon experience a steady return of lightness rather than a surge of emotion. You'll walk differently, speak differently, and see the world through eyes that aren't distorted by hopelessness. And as that pleasure increases, you'll see that it was never misplaced. It turned into genuinely anticipating the right moment to come back. My second, the only one I created, not to give you something for living but to expose you to that grief, which lacked the electricity to keep you alive. Therefore, be now, my darling. Don't worry about making it happen. I'm purposefully sending pleasure. It is aware of where to go. In the actual area where ache ruled, it is en route to meet you. Additionally, it might not just remain for a moment after it arrives. It will coexist with you, develop alongside you, and walk alongside you throughout everything I've planned. Enjoyment is on the way, and it's here to stay. I've seen how other people's words have attempted to define you. Some were spoken boldly without realizing the wound they caused, while others were whispered behind your back. You carried those words in silence, unsure of how to react and unsure if anyone noticed how painful they were. But I witnessed and heard every false charge, every warped representation of your heart that people chose to believe. And I want you to know that those voices are going to be muffled. Now, not through revenge but through the truth. To prove yourself, you don't have to fight. It's not necessary to rectify every misperception. I've always stood up for you. I've been preparing a moment so straightforward and clearly planned by me that every lie can be accepted with simple proof, while others have tried to talk over your destiny with doubt and problems. The moment you enter will no longer require an introduction. It will bring my justice with it. It's not about retaliation. It has to do with recovery. Even though it might have been simpler to talk again, you kept your peace. Your name was dragged through the dark, but you chose grace. Nevertheless, you remain because you have chosen to accept it as true, not because you were unable to cause harm. I saw the whole thing then, and you had been right. I didn't want you to hide your true value. While I organized something that went beyond any rebuttal or revelation, I needed you to keep your posture, the veracity of your identity, honesty, and loyalty. At this point, your heart will rise above every false story, because what I'm revealing to you now becomes your loudest solution. You don't want to deal with the past. Factors should never be heard over the blessings I am bestowing. I am releasing a transformation that will silence every doubtful thought, every misunderstanding-based opinion, and every label that never belonged to you. This isn't always a vindication moment. It has to do with elevation. I'm placing you in a situation that defies speculation. Now, it's because of fruit rather than reputation. There are going to be consequences in your life that are so obvious that no lie can match them. I'm enveloping you in clarity and verifying your price in ways that even your detractors cannot dispute. But those who once questioned your ability won't want to see what happens when I raise someone who stayed faithful during the typhoon. Furthermore, this might not be a proud moment. It will be a peaceful moment. Not because your call might be answered, but rather because my hand will be exalted. You'll consider the fact that it was never roughly proven, demonstrating your innocence. It became more about sticking to your goal. As you can see, I did more than just keep your name safe. I concealed your identity. However, I am now disclosing it in the light for testimony rather than for validation. You'll enter spaces where your personality speaks for itself. Your diagnosis will be based on how quietly you continued, not how loudly you yelled. In a way that feels firm but gentle, I am flipping the tables. The weight of my truth is crushing every erroneous assumption. My love is being used to peel off every label they found. And the true you fragile, whole, and radiant remains. Therefore, raise your head with warranty rather than conceit. You no longer wish to describe your journey. The talking will start as soon as I'm ready. Let those who misunderstood observe and be amazed. Allow those who make poor decisions to think and research. Their words have now cleared the path for your adventure. My choice has illuminated it. Additionally, you might feel the discharge as that second approaches. You will realize that those words didn't accurately describe who you are. Yes, I did. And I promise to complete what I started in you. Because I have spoken, every lie may be silenced, every shadow dispelled, and what I say about you may always be more important than anything anyone else has ever dared to say. There have been times when you've wondered why you remained hidden in the shadows while others were entering the mild at the same time. You experienced the seasons of silence, feeling invisible, and performing admirable deeds without anyone noticing. Why not now? Why no longer me? You asked me softly, and I acknowledged that I felt every ounce of that desire. But I want you to understand that being hidden wasn't a punishment. It turns into defense. It becomes planned, deliberate, and encased in my wisdom. I didn't keep anything from you. I was preparing for what you were about to enter. Similar to how a seed must rest in the dark before pushing through the ground. Your period of notoriety ceased to be an indication of a delay. On your emergence, it became the muse. You could not be what you have been becoming. The weight of visibility would have overshadowed what I was still fostering inside of you if I had brought you forward too soon. In seasons when no one is around, there might be a sacred reason. This is where your person was created. Your coronary heart learned how to remain pure there, even when the applause turned into silence. They had neglected you. They were keeping you safe. They have been molding you to hold something that is difficult to shake. Were the roots sufficiently deep before you were exposed? You might want to have your calling uprooted by the winds of expectation. I don't base my timing on recognition. It has a purpose at its core. I realized where I was taking you and that I knew exactly what kind of strength you would need to go through it, endure it, and develop inside of it. Therefore, I hid you away to protect you rather than to isolate you. I surrounded you with growth, grace, and classes that people shouldn't take. I made you invisible through people so that I could make you visible. More important than anything outside was what was happening behind the curtain. In order to keep you steady, rather than to hold you again, I slowed you down as others sped ahead. I had no interest in temporary status. I was creating a legacy that could not be built on performance or shortcuts. The arrival of what is now coming into view is not unexpected. Something sacred that has been growing for a long time is quietly coming to life. I am now bringing you forward, not for approval but for undertaking, because you embrace that hidden season with humility. Being seen for attention isn't the only goal of this unveiling. It's about me showing you through your lives what obedience breeds, what integrity yields, and what faithfulness looks like. You are about to enter a second. It has been genuinely customized, not because of the attention, but rather because your soul is prepared. You would not be defined by the platform you are entering. It validates you. It exhibits the inner fortitude developed over the invisible years. Because your identity is rooted in my voice and not in the attention, you won't crumble under the pressure. And now that the time is right, the revealing will come naturally, like a door opening, driven by desire rather than coercion. What seemed far away is now getting closer, and you're not aiming for it this time. It's on its way to you. You don't want to make an announcement. This is what I want to do. Your journey doesn't need to be validated. Your fruit will do the talking. What is emerging is consistent rather than ostentatious. It's easy now, it's not noisy. Those who observed from a distance will also realize that this did not happen overnight. The development of this took years. You spent those years growing up in silence, believing in me in the stillness, and letting me create the inspiration for what follows. Now, move forward with self-belief rather than anxiety. You're being discovered, not breaking out. This is the moment when reason and preparation come together. And you might realize why I kept you hidden if you take another look. Now, not because you weren't ready, but because you needed to make the most of your moment. And now it will be finished because you waited. Amen.